Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on Project Dirtbag again. We're going to wire in the radiator fans and try to fit this cold air intake. Join me. Since this is going to be a probably 40 amp circuit, I went with the larger weather pack connectors. I love these things because they're modular and you can swap things out. These are 10, 12 gauge weather pack connectors. I got them on Amazon. They're like $9 for a kit. Every time I'm doing something that I need some high amperage stuff, I just get one of these. Just easier to have the right stuff, and I can always take it apart if I need to, and it's serviceable. Just had to get me one of these weather pack crimpers, one-time deal, and you're done. I've already started wiring this one up, and we're working out of my drawer today, so excuse my drawer. But there you go. Nice little positive retention for what will be probably 40 amp or more circuit. I always keep these weather tight. I don't know what they're called. They're the 30, 40 amp relays where they're actually 30 or 40 amps and not some little, well, you know what I'm talking about, not the little cheap guys. These ones I buy have, what's that, 14, 16 gauge, something like that wire. So at least it's not the little cheap Chinese stuff. It probably is, but just from a better factory in China. Anyways, I like these. They're sealed. Mount them down usually like this. Just heavy duty and can do things. If I'm not doing something like a radiator fan, I have little tiny guys I use, but this is what we're using. Kind of started pre-wiring this already. This connector coming out, going to the fans, is going to have each of the positive legs of the fan, one on each side, and then I have a ground wire coming out. It's going to go straight to ground wherever I find that's going to be. And then that'll be disconnectable from the radiator fan assembly. So I need to service that. I can pull it out. Basically, relays. It's just an electric switch. So you got switch side would be 85 and 86. So one side of that, I'm going to have 12 volts from the switch somewhere from the ignition switch. So ignition 12 volts on one side. The other side comes from the PCM and it's grounded. It's blue 42 and red something. I'll throw that in later. But it's a ground signal from the PCM. So as long as you have the key on and it's switched 12 volts on here, then once you give it the ground, it'll fire that voltage through. We're not working with the yellow guy. That's 87A. That's the always open side. You can do things with that to make it do half speed and use 3 relays, but we're not doing that here. So I got my battery feed, which is right next to the battery post. It's going to feed battery voltage in, and then it's going to feed that voltage right out to the fans. So we're running very short on my distances here. If you're running anything farther than, say, a foot or so, you're probably going to need to step these wire gauges up. But that's what we're going to run. That's what I got. Again, love these guys. The area we got to work with is not that big, as with everything on this truck. I do have my positive battery post here, a little distribution deal. That bolt's about to short something out. Perfect. So yeah, that's where I'm going to pick power up from. My fans are going to live over here once I get the fans figured out. And I think I'm going to put my relays right up against the wall there, because the other thing I got to fit in here is a cold air intake, which means I need to have a heat shield that's going to live somewhere in that area with a filter on top. So I don't want to take any of that area. I've already cut out a little bit in here for where I think that filter is going to go, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So let me get this mounted up and we'll start wiring. So now that that is out of the way, we can work our way up, and we're going to try to get this eBay Silverado kind of cold air kit. If you guys have sensed the theme on this build already, it's literally the cheapest thing I can find, and that's what goes on here. So this was the Amazon, eBay, that $50 cold air intake heat shield comes around that. So that is a ginormous filter that we're going to try to get in there, but it's a problem for in a few minutes. I did take the brackets off ground those down, just because they never bolt anything anyways, so I removed them. Bolted these two together and held this up to where I wanted it, which is about there-ish, and drew a line up the side of that and cut it off with my cutoff wheel. Did the same thing on this side. So this slides down in there, kind of like a so. It's fun to do with one hand. But basically, it sits just about even with the side of this. I say just about because I need to make a little 90-degree bracket there to catch what was the battery tray bolt, and that will land this on the bottom side. I just, you see that, drilled a hole right through the bottom of the fender liner, and then I got a bolt and some spacers. I think these are old shock spacers or something that just kind of sandwich that in there and keeps this elevated. So it's not going to be 100% airtight, but it'll try to keep some of the air out of there, which should help. I don't know. It's also going to help locate that filter. As you can see, there's not a lot of room in here. A lot of you guys, people, just put a filter on the end of that. Not doing that. I want an actual intake tube. Reasons. To get that, I had to do a lot of things. So just for this intake tube, we've recessed the radiator, which gave me another, I don't know, 2 inches that way. I did get what is this water pump? This is like a 2010 Camaro, so it has the truck spacing, but it puts the fill on that side. And I had a big old box of radiator hoses in the back, so I just cut some up, used I think that was a thermostat or a heater neck that came off the 4.3, cut that down, used some wrong size clamps, and got this monstrosity in there. So now I have, hoses going that way. Obviously, I'm not getting an intake tube in there, but that opens all this up for activities. Again, I don't know where my fans are going to land. I had these guys, which will work great, not on this build, but that's like a 5-inch, I don't know, that's deep, sticking out. So that put me like there-ish. There was no way I'm getting an intake tube in there, and probably not over top, because, it's already pretty high hood clearance and stuff. So we're going to get something going on in here, snake this over. I'm probably going to have to cut this side of the tube off so that this isn't sticking in there through the fender. I kind of pre-looked and held this in place and figured out, a little bit of that had to get cut out. I think there's a little sideways brace in there. So this filter should sit ish somewhere in there. And this all just goes together, right? So anyway, somewhere in here-ish, that filter is going to sit. And then I can make something that captures that off of there. But let's do some mock-ups, see what we got. Oh, there she is. Found an existing bolt that was already here. It's the back side of the headlight bracket. Put the relays on there, ran a nut to it. That's where that ground is. Then ran everything this way. Still had one switch 12 volt that was coming out of the connector for, I don't remember which one this was, C104 or something that comes out this side. There was a pink wire that was 12 volts with a key on, so that's what's feeding my 10 amp circuit that goes to turn on 85. 86 comes off the PCM, and then I have 30 that comes off the connector here and goes over, and then that'd be 87 on either relay comes out and goes to this little connector down there. So when the fans get here, they should be on the truck today. When they get here, I can hook those up, make the other side of this connector, 2 of those in a ground. They'll share a ground, and then we can test that using the PCM control. Purple Santa showed up. That's the FedEx guy. He had my fan shroud and fan straight from China. So made 2 holes and bolted those little guys on there, and made my harness that I was talking about earlier. It plugs in down here. So now we're going to come over to the VCM controls on HP tuners and just verify that this thing works. And give it fan 2. That one worked. Fan 1. And then we'll turn them both on. That blows. Hey. They are both going the same direction. You can check that, make sure they're both blowing that away. Otherwise you're going to have some problems. These are pretty loud and don't do much, so they be getting swapped out soon. The reason I went with these was I needed something that was narrower and packaged a little better, and well, that was the smallest that I could find without spending $8,000, and I think this was like $78 shipped. Got here in a couple days, even though it's the holidays, and it's still a little, I don't know, 3-4 inches, a little shy on the one side, but I mean, for what I'm doing, that's fine. But if I was putting this in something else, I'd probably want something a little bigger. Of course, I didn't measure anything, so can't really go wrong for that. Shroud is all the way down to the core, so that should do enough to do things. All right, well, I took a piece that I had cut off. No matter which side it was, just kind of drilled a hole in it, folded it over, held it up against there, put 2 screws in there to lock it down. So hopefully, when I put that in there, that'll locate the right side of that whole thing. Let me get it bolted in here and I'll show you. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. The light's dying. So you got side on this, or a bolt on this side. Locate that, and one down here, and this thing's good enough for government work. Now we can get this air filter in here, and see what we can do with that. It's going to live there-ish. That might be an issue. That's plastic, so yep, I don't know. That's just going to have to go over top somehow. Anyway, we're going to drop that filter in there and get this tube on here, see what it looks like. Don't mind that. So I cut this right there, and my plan was to come out of here and go put this angle flipped up that way, so it kind of went down and across. When I did that, a number of different things happened. Just clearance wise, it was not going to work out with pulleys and things on the backside. As you can see, I'm 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch. It's close right there. I may put this in the vise and just kind of do that, give me a little clearance. But got that big old tube in there in that tight old spot, which nobody says except Megan. So anyways, that fits in there. I've seen a lot of different concoctions of people not having full-size intake tubes, and it bugs me. You need that. It helps do the flow things. Reasons, you can Google it. I'm going to probably develop another bracket off of one of these hose clamps that kind of locates that to the heat shield. That's what I did on the Chevelle. And things will happen. I have no clue what I'm going to do with this drain right here. Might have to trim on some of these little nibs and trim that back and figure out a way to kind of snake that down there. But that's tomorrow's project or next week or whatever. It may just piss out right there, and that's how it does. Anyways, that's pretty successful. Besides me being an idiot and doing the wrong thing first, you're doing this, don't cut your tube and it'll fit in there perfect. Angled and everything is right. You do have to put the long side here instead of here. There's, this one's not as deep as that. So whichever one works for you. This one spaced it out enough for me that it puts me in line with that pulley, and we're going to keep it cheap. So I think while I'm here and while I've been staring at it, I might tackle this bracket here. I don't know what cable this is out of, but it's the S10 cable now. It's just it's that Chinese neighbor from down the street. Way too long. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. anyways, we're going to get that something happen with the bracket. Maybe some Adele clamps or something up there. And I'm going to make this work because it's supposed to be in those 3 holes, and it's just that one. So probably going to cut this, move that, you know, bracket things. But I'll get to that, and I'll bring you back in just a second. Okay, well, I cut that bracket, and I slid this little guy forward. Actually, no, I would slide that back. Basically, this whole attachment piece slid forward, slid it all the way till it touched right here, tacked that there, and welded it on the front and back side. And then I need something to capture that back bolt hole, so kind of 45 that a little bit, and I'm thinking I can put this somewhere like that and give it enough support. We shall see here. Let me get this on here with hands. All right, so now this little guy still has a little bit of adjustment to it because that's slotted. So I'm going to put that right about in the middle of its travel. And I'm going to mark this little bracket, and right there. I know that's not a lot of attachment, but I just need it to strengthen a little bit. I might be able to get it. Hold on a second. There's no insert in that, which kind of disappoints me because I would like to use that. You know, maybe do something like this. That might be better. There's no insert in there. It'll just come out. Okay. But, you know, I could probably do some stuff like that. What if I can't fit me a 1/4-20 insert in there, like a rib nut? Let me go check that. Well, I'm not sure what size that is, but I have 1/4-20 rib nuts, and that went in there, and it's, you know, holding just enough I can get a bolt on there. So that changes that design. Now I'll be able to probably round this little guy off right there. I've got 2 capture points, so it's not going to pivot side to side. Once I get this off, I've marked where it needs to go, and I kind of clocked it, so I know which way it needs to sit here. So I got a straight pull on this guy, and I'll go ahead and weld that both sides, put that back on there, and then we'll test the cable out. All right, got the bracket back. Welded those 2 together, slotted the holes a little bit. So let's get this on here and see where we're at. I should have enough adjustment to go all the ways and still get me in there, hopefully. If not, make it again. Okay. Go up this way, do things. Yeah. All right. Well, we got this welded together. Got the brackets in there. There's some Adele clamps in the back to kind of locate these cables. They're way too long for what needs to be on there, but we're going to make it work. Cruise control cable seemed to work great. I still got some adjustment on there if I need to. You know, things. This little guy is going to work out for throttle cable. Maybe a little tight. Might have to loosen it. We'll see what happens when we start driving or doing things. Yeah, came out pretty good. Got that installed. Got this cold air intake installed. And we got the radiator fans installed. So, with all those things done, no, it's not Captain Planet. With all those things done, I think now we can move on to tuning. I am a TOON tuner. I don't do this crap professionally, but I can dabble my way enough if I have enough time to figure out how to get this thing to start. So, got a big cam. It's fired off a couple times, but it is way rich. I'm assuming my Amazon, eBay, wherever the hell I got them, injectors are not what I think they are. So I'm going to have to get some different injectors on there. Once I do that and I get good injector data in there, I can fire it and start tuning on it with whatever injectors are in there right now. With the factory tune, I think they're 22 pounds that it's calling for. And I have the regulator on there. It's trying to do all kinds of things and dumping like 50% extra fuel. So injectors are wrong. Fix that. Then we'll tune it. Got the wideband, got HP tuners. If you guys want to see something specific, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps me out. And see you next time. Action. Fire. I just wake up and piss excellence, and I want to go fast.
You're not first, you're last.
I was high when I said that. Did real good. Car ran real good.